Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelava, and this is episode 2 of the Ethics of Victoria 2, as the Path of Light, we'll say. And essentially, we just won the Battle of Roanoke. The United States of America is offering us peace with the status quo. We are going to take them at their word, and accept. And there we go. We are now out of the war, we have achieved our independence. It is now on us to achieve our destiny as a separate and distinct nation and people than the rest of the United States itself. So the first thing we're going to do is justify war on Mexico. And essentially we're just going to try to plow through and get a coastline through Sonora, probably take Chihuahua and Nuevo Leon. Because even though we're taking the air quotes, path of light, it is still Victoria too. We're going to have to deal with the product of the era, and the era is one of territorial conquest and imperialism, essentially. So we do need to get some imperial holdings. We'll probably also go and attack the United States at another point. Essentially, though, we're going to just try to... We're not going to attack them in order to push them down. We're going to attack them in order to bring ourselves up, which I think is a real, if perhaps somewhat indistinct kind of distinction. An indistinct distinction. That's not really helpful, but I mean, it might be slightly vague, but I think it is still a sensible sort of strategy. So we're also going to split our army up. It looks like we can split into 3 or so groups that will be, decent armies. We're not going to get rid of our undermanned brigades because they're basically all of our brigades at this point. And we're also going to go ahead and probably, I'm not sure when exactly we'll do it, but we will abolish slavery as it becomes less economically viable. And we'll just kind of bring our forces over to the Mexican border. It'll probably be quite a while before we're able to declare that war. Probably something like a year, so we'll go ahead and just cut our land spending immensely. We'll go ahead and save up money to pay off our debts, and then probably worry about education and taking care of our country in a more long-term sort of sense. And yeah, we'll just see how that all plays out. Go ahead and repay all these loans. Middle class is struggling quite a bit, which is pretty unfortunate, but not all that much we can do about it at the moment. We could really just not tax them. It wouldn't matter all that much right now. But we're not going to do that. Instead, we'll drop tariffs a pretty large degree. Not all the way, though. We're going to have to save up money because we're going to try to colonize. I'm not sure if we'll have the ability to colonize in the just constant war version, but we'll see how it all ends up playing out. Also, I really should have taken this bureaucrat away from Oklahoma a while ago, but I just never did. We can't encourage clergymen, though. I feel like I might have done it in the wrong state. I did. Alright, well, we'll encourage the clergy in Texas, and we'll go back to bureaucrats in Oklahoma. Alright, and that should do a decent amount to just get our administration up. France got a model colony, that's pretty cool for them, and the United States is basically just getting picked on by all of their neighbors. Which isn't ideal for them, but I mean, it's just something they're going to have to put up with. And we're probably going to just break away the irregulars from our armies, since they aren't really combat effective, I don't believe. I should actually probably look up their stats, or not really look up so much as just go and look at, since that is something we can find in-game. That being said, we will just divide them out from all the rest of our armies, and they will just run as support units. It looks like the Mexicans have a considerable army, which is interesting, and I don't believe the Americans are actually going to provide any resistance whatsoever, other than from attrition. So we're basically going to have to fight a decently strong Mexican force when we do declare on them. However, we've proven... Oh yeah, they actually have more brigades than us, but they did mobilize, I want to say. Oh yes. You can tell because that's red, so reserves are mobilized. So we would actually have more troops than them, we can just sustain less in the long term. And let's see, we also need to expand our naval bases if we're going to realistically colonize. We can't take very much infamy fighting the Mexicans because we are ultimately going to want to declare war on some sort of country in Africa. It really doesn't matter which one, but we do need a foothold from which we'll be able to actually colonize, because right now we don't have the colonial range. We should also probably work on building at least a large enough navy that we can get troops over. We don't have any transports at the moment. So we'll just go ahead and build 7 or 8 of those. Let's build 10. Yeah, I don't know why I just said 7 or 8 and then built 10. I usually just stick to army groups of 10 regiments in Victoria 2, just because it's easy. I think that's how it divides, in the sense that a dragoon provides recon for, I want to say 10, but maybe 20 brigades. I think what it goes is 1 unit of reconnaissance goes for 9 other brigades, 10 in total. So we would be able to have 20, I want to say, since they have recon of 2, but I am kind of just making that up. Alright, it has 1 recon brigade out of a 0.5 that it needs, 0.52, and it has 6 units, so I'm not sure. That seems like decently correct math, but also not actually correct math. Basically, we're going to be winging this series. However, I feel like the results that we get, while not perfect, are still going to be interesting, and perhaps, well, I mean, maybe not worthwhile, but at least interesting, and I feel like that's worth something. Alright, Mexico has acquired Arizona in their huge plot to just make the borders in this part of the world terrible till the end of time. Which, I mean, yeah, why not? I guess we're all doing that to some degree. We'll go ahead and actually get empiricism right now. And we're going to need... Actually, I think... Let's see. Colonial negotiations is what we need, and we'll just get machine guns in order to get that in 7 years. Because, alright, our life rating is 20, so that should work. That should work fairly well. Did I not set a naval rally point? It doesn't look like I did. Go ahead and set that up as a naval rally point in the future. And we have 70 days until we can declare on Mexico. The United States of America has been cut down to size and lost New England. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we have cores on any of their lands, so we would have to take a big infamy hit if we were to take any of their lands. So probably not going to actively invade the United States, other than maybe to take Kentucky. And that's just because they do have coal, which is important. I actually wonder how much coal we have compared to the United States now. They have a ton. But if we took back West Virginia, that would actually be very helpful. West Virginia and Kentucky, maybe even Missouri. That would actually really help our industry later on. And we are already going to move into Chihuahua, which has coal, but maybe not so much, and precious metals. So, I don't know, it'll be interesting. We'll see how it goes. We should go ahead and fund our military more now. Looks like it puts us in a slight deficit. Yeah, maybe a considerable deficit. We'll just increase tariffs all the way. Try to not take any loans if we can avoid it. We'll also set up Austin as a rally point for our troops. Let's see, we have a bunch of rally points just from the war. Go ahead and turn all of those off. Mobilize. And we'll see what we can do. This might be one of those wars where we just kind of push in and try to take over some defensive territory and let the enemy come to us then. Oh, Mexico's mobilizing. They are not fools. Say what you will. But that was probably the most intelligent thing the Mexican AI could have just done. Now we'll just start shoveling our forces towards the border. Looks like we're already meeting some of them. Alright, and we can go ahead and declare war. We'll go for Chihuahua. And we'll rush in with that group, and with 2 of these. The rest of our forces will cling back for right now, and we'll get all of our reserves to just kind of fill the gaps as they become available. I'm tempted to just rush that one Mexican army. So in fact, let's try to do that and test out the feasibility. because they're not very organized right now. They're just going to become stronger and more of a pervasive threat as we let them really just fund their military whatsoever. We can get there on the 26th. Looks like they're staying put. Oh, I don't want to do that, though. That's a poor decision. We'll just move further after them. Alright. 31st, 28th. Pull these troops up. Alright. We'll hold this troop back. They'll get there on the 29th now. Alright, now they'll get down to the 1st. That's not ideal, but it works out decently well. 31st. Let's get these troops up so we can pull the whole weight of this army. They'll get there on the 29th. We don't want that. Alright, we'll get there on the 31st. And we'll bring some of these forces up. So I realize what I should have been doing is putting in a regular under each of our large forces. But we didn't do that. We will in the future, though. Just because that gives us more of an ability to just actively respond to issues as they come up. Like, for instance, we can block that group. Probably not forever, though. Probably not for very long at all. But we did block them. Alright, and we'll just keep sending our forces forward. Let's see which forces have arrived most recently. Well, we'll just send these guys over. Alright, so we're definitely going to win that battle. We're probably going to lose this battle in the woods. Alright, no, we managed to get them to stop. We're kind of spread out. That's not ideal. But we're getting more forces in the area, so that is decent at least. We can keep them just hesitant. That's really the most important thing. They're going to Monterey? I didn't realize there were 2 Monterreys. Or I guess at least 2 Monterreys. At any rate, this is really lucky for us because we can just shovel these forces in. We probably should have let that small group escape. And we're going to have to keep an eye over here. Let's finish this occupation. Alright, great news. Looks like we won. We will, let's see, we'll detach a small group and then we'll just hunt them down with the rest of our army. Maybe even sending a group over just to keep taking over the war score, or the war goal province. Now all of our other forces are going to be moving around to just maintain the encirclement. And that should be good. Alright, we won that battle. It looks like they were just extinguished. And once we get enough forces into this general area, we'll probably push that force since they're just in the plains. Though they will have a dig-in bonus since they've been there for so long. Oh, and it looks like they're going to try to go to Monterey. And when they do that, we'll just smash into them with all the forces around. Time to smash into them with all of our forces just around. And if we're lucky, they'll just keep funneling more of their troops into that battle. And we'll just do what we did to the United States to them right now. It's really the most effective tactic in this game, is just hold back, wait until your enemy just destroys themselves in a dumb battle, and then win the game. So that is really the hint, not even the hint, that is just the tactic in Victoria 2. Alright, so it looks like we're just winning that overwhelmingly. Let's have a moment where we just kind of consider what's going on. We're only at 11% war score, so it's going to be a bit of a... We're going to have to be in this war for a little bit longer. They only have 21 brigades, and it looks like it's just these 2 armies now. Keep this one back. And it looks like this army is going to just go smash themselves into there, which is great. Go ahead and send these troops in. Get that great encirclement going on. I've been using the word great a lot. That's not awesome. I almost said that's not great. Alright, so this army will just go probably back up here. Looks like we won that battle before we were able to fully encircle them, which is cool, but a bit of a bummer. Let's rush this army up. Try to at least be on the technical defensive. Looks like we can just block those guys off. We should probably just go and deal with these occupations and not just leave small clusters of troops to be kind of abandoned. Alright, and they're going around, so they're not going to be any help at all to their poor allies who are just totally gone. And there we go. That army's just destroyed. We'll go split these forces up a bit. And there we go. So, yeah, we've basically won this war. That's really cool. Yeah, not really much to it other than that. We'll just keep moving our forces forward and siege them out, or just occupy them out. We could go after another state as well in this war. We could go after Sonora. I'm not too tempted to take on this level of infamy right now. We could just go to war with them again later on and take significantly less infamy if we're lucky. And even if we're not, then it should still at least be decent. So that's basically the goal. We can just kind of ignore that army. Doesn't seem like they'll really be able to do anything about us. Not at this point, at any rate. They could probably smash up those two armies. And they might. They might give that a try. In fact, that's probably realistically the only place they could be going right now. So that's not really cool. Let's see. We should probably start moving these forces around. It looks like they're actually just sieging themselves back out, so that is good. Not really anything resembling a threat at that point. And we'll just keep rolling on down. It looks like we actually have enough war score right now that we could just demand peace. So let's just do that. There's really no reason to keep the war going on longer than we need to. Chihuahua has been granted statehood. Yeah, look at those borders. That's lovely, man. We will extend slavery because that's what we do. We're the Confederate States of America. Let's go ahead and demobilize. Alright, we'll just push everyone back into our own country. And there we go. Now we're just going to keep up these war level of taxes, or of tariffs at least, for a decent amount of time. Crazy that the United States is still a great power, but it looks like that's falling apart now. So that's very good. Oh, man. Oh, that's actually great. We'll be able to land in Liberia, make a naval base there. So let's go ahead and do that. Establish a protectorate, 10 infamy potentially. I'm going to take that risk. It's probably not the best risk to take, and it is more infamy than we need, but I do like the thought, oh man, that's really great in a sort of terrible way, that the focal point, the starting off point of Confederate colonization in Africa will be in Liberia, a place made just to host former slaves. So, I mean, that's kind of terrible. That's really terrible, but I don't know, it's poignant in a way. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that. We're going to see how it goes. Hope for the best. Let's see if anywhere else needs clergymen. Liberian menace. We're a great power, which means bam, they're out of the United States' sphere, so we don't even have to worry about them intervening. So that is very cool. We should really try to ally the British. I just remembered that we probably can't take the United States on in a one-on-one fight later on. So what we definitely have to do is find which great power does not have a great power ally, and just cozy up to them. Oh, and no one wants to ally us. That is not good whatsoever. Can't believe Spain is a great power. Italy will probably come and take that title from them later on. We also could never have allied Mexico since they did want part of Texas back. So yeah, we're just going to have to really make sure that we just don't fall apart, really, is the thing. I mean, that's not really very specific, but that is going to just have to be the one category of success is we just cannot fall so far behind the United States that they just overwhelm us, which they will definitely try to do. And we can actually load all of these forces into boats. Although we really don't need to bring all of the irregulars. We will anyway, just because it's more troops. And we'll just sail on over to Liberia. Alright, so other than that, we have a bit of an issue with a whole bunch of our people being unemployed because all the factories are shutting down because of all of the just terrible tariffs that we have. So we're going to go ahead and not tax the rich basically at all, just at 1%, so we can see what they're making. And once we colonize Liberia, then we'll be able to cut our military funding for at least a few years. We're probably going to go back and try to take Kentucky. I think that's probably going to be the best state to just start off with taking. Although, maybe Missouri. We should probably take the most populous state, which looks to be Missouri, just because we have a lot of Dixie-cultured peoples who will assimilate into the United States. And we would probably just want to... Okay, let me think. We just want to prevent these populations of people from becoming Yankees. So, yeah, we'll just have to go and ensure that they never really get the chance to turn into Yankees. And we'll just encourage clergymen all over the place. It looks like we're not going to be a great power anymore in a year. Who is taking over that position? Who is rank 8 in the world? Is it? It's not Italy. It's probably... Oh, it's Belgium. Alright, that's kind of annoying. Hopefully we'll get a little bit of prestige when we take over Liberia, and then we'll focus again on fighting the Americans. Go ahead and establish this protectorate. It only gives us 2 prestige if we make it work, so that's really not going to be the best strategy, but it's the best one we've got. And we'll build a naval base there so we have naval range to colonize in the surrounding area. Will the British give us military access? They will not. Do we risk letting our ships all sink due to attrition? Yeah, let's risk it. It looks like we'll manage to take over the country soon enough that it won't matter. Alright, there we go, and we'll just take over the rest of their country, and we really just have to be a secondary power in order to make this work in the long-term sort of sense. We have a truce with the United States. This will probably be easier if we just look at ourselves. We have a truce with them until September 1867, and then we'll probably just go smash into them again and take some more land. So yeah, it turns out this might actually just be more of a middle ground, but I don't really see a more effective way of making this sort of thing work. Because we could... Okay, I was very vague right then. You could make the argument that we're not really taking, quote, the path of light, unquote, if we're conquering all of these people and setting up a massive colonial empire. Massive, maybe. I mean, it depends on how this turns out. But you could make those arguments. The issue is, if we don't do stuff like that, then almost guaranteed the United States is just going to roll in and suppress us, just by the weight of their population. Let's actually take a look at the ledger and find out. They have 20 million people. We have a solid 8.5. And that's total people, not pops. So yeah, we would probably not win that. We can see once we drop from great power status if the British will ally us, since it won't be 2 great power allies. Although that restriction is going to fall away in about 5 years. At any rate, yeah, what we need to do right now, and I forgot to do it earlier, is go into the budget, cut our military funding dramatically, and then use that to cut tariffs so that hopefully our people will be able to have, you know, jobs and things, jobs and factories. And then we'll probably legalize, or we'll probably illegalize slavery at some point in the near future. We have tons of people enslaved, and really, once our factories all fill up, which I guess some of them are, once we don't have such an unemployment problem, once the problem becomes that our factories need more people to fill them, then we'll probably push for the abolition of slavery. So yeah, I guess by the path of light, just to chime back to that, by the path of light, I guess it just is that we're going to achieve the most that we can with our Confederate States of America, as opposed to just preventing the United States from being as powerful, although it will just invariably involve us striking at the United States quite a lot. Not out of malice, though, but out of self-interest. which I guess you could make the argument there really isn't much of a difference if someone is acting negatively towards you out of malice as opposed to out of self-interest. But I feel as though that is a real distinction. So, I don't know, I'm just kind of rambling, but I think this is slightly different. I could also try like a third section where we just act peacefully, maybe peacefully colonize and do things like that and don't invade our neighbors. Although I feel as though the most likely outcome of that would be annexation by the United States. That would be interesting though, so maybe I will give it a try, and if it goes nowhere, I'll probably just not post it if we just get annexed. Although actually I should, because that would be, you know, a considerable bit of information as well. If going the entirely peaceful route just ends up with destruction, then it wasn't really effective. Alright, so Portugal is friendly with Spain, which is still a great power, and it doesn't seem like it's going to drop off anytime soon, so we will actually not go to war with them, get our people slightly more jingoistic, which is cool anyway. Hopefully these projects are going to come through, and we'll get some more factories. We really need that. And yeah, other than that, we'll just kind of coast along for the next couple of years. More elections and things. We're actually in a fairly stable spot right now, and that's very nice. The United States is building a ton of troops. They might be able to just overwhelm us in a few years. Once we stop being a great power, though, we'll see if the British are at all interested in allying with us, and we'll just increase relations with them until then. So yeah, we'll just let our infamy burn. Probably support full citizenship, just because ultimately we do need all of these people to be, you know, the most effective citizens they can be, if we're going to get the most out of them. Alright. And yeah, we're just waiting on naval bases. It looks like we have quite a while before any of those are done. We're getting business banks right now, but we should also probably upgrade our naval bases just one more time. Okay, so the USA has become the next great power. We will rise again. That's kind of hilarious. This actually works out pretty well in a few ways. But, yeah, let's go ahead and not ally them still. So we'll just keep increasing relations. We have 2 years before the United States even could attack us, which who knows if they'll want to. But they might. They might give it a try. And if we keep attacking them, then we'll become a great power. They'll lose their great power status. Mexico will probably keep intervening against them to try to get more of their lands. And that will work out very well, because once we're a great power and we get, I believe we might have already been able to get it, but it might have been after we get nationalism and imperialism. If we're a great power, we will be able to take the Mexican states and the United States for free with the casus belli of War of Unification. So that would be very helpful, and I don't think we take any infamy for that. Let's not push our people towards interventionism. We'll stay out of the economy to the best of our ability. We are definitely at a point where the economy would be better off if we could just flush it full of cash for a moment. But that's not really the place that we're in. So we'll just kind of ignore that for now. Although if we do get a protectionist party in office, which I'm not sure if we even have one, then that would be helpful. Alright, it looks like, yeah, everyone is going to be laissez-faire. So, I guess we're just not going to worry about that. And we already encouraged them there. Just spreading those clergymen around. Get those sweet education bonuses, and there you go, there's one right now. Sorry about the discriminatory schools, but we do need the research points. Alright, and we should probably ship these guys back since we don't really need an entire army just holding watch over colonial Liberia. Although we will probably bring our force back in order to take over Sokoto or one of the other uncivs. That's still a while away. Alright, but other than that, we're on sound trajectory. We can just speed this up. Fighting disease and things. El Salvador in their sphere. Keep increasing our relations with the British. Alright, and now we just need to be decent managers of the situation, and we should be good. I've said that a lot, I know, but, yeah, what else can I say? What else is significant at this point? Yeah, really just we're going to set ourselves up to be in the best position we can for further colonization. Ideally, I would love it if we could put ourselves in a position where we had interventionist economics so that we had a better chance of getting our economy really on strong footing. That's probably not something that's going to happen in, well, ever, because none of our political parties are pro-intervention. We are, however, going to get our Raider Group Doctrine to get another level of naval base. And then that's really the most we'll have to worry about on that front. I don't believe we're missing any more important technologies other than maybe functionalism, so we'll go after that next. And we should probably also be building up a bit more of an army. We only have 3 possible brigades that we haven't already built, so I guess not. And we're going to have to just fight the Civil War over and over again to take over all of the other territories that we're basically missing out on now. I'm worried that the American the American army is just going to get considerably more powerful than us. So yeah, I mean, I guess this kind of hits that as well. Just because we'll just kind of keep them down partially, and mainly just really just build strength up for ourselves. So we'll see how it all plays out. We actually have a fairly decent chance of just losing the war anyway if we go to war again. However, they could just try to annex us. So let's take a look. Yeah, almost all of our territory is their core, which leads us back to just wanting to increase our relations with the United Kingdom. I really wish you could do that automatically. That's really a positive element of EU4. You never really realize how much you miss it until you're playing Victoria 2 and you can't. Everyone will keep rallying to Charlotte. And as soon as we can fabricate war against the United States, we're going to. And we'll just let the dice fall where they may. We have 37 brigades. They only have 19, but they are building up rapidly. Just horrifyingly rapidly. So, yeah. Best of luck, us. In fact, at this point, it may be worthwhile. I mean, our factories are just starting to get back to a point where they're actually hiring people and our capitalists are making money. So we don't really want to put strain on that system right at the moment, although we are eventually going to have to put a decent amount of strain on that when we go to war again. Realistically, I guess we could just fund our war through loans, although that may not be the most ideal strategy. Also, let's just automate this cotton trade. What are we doing? That's my bad. I totally forgot to stop that after we stockpiled it in like the first moments of the game. And we still can't form an alliance, although we're getting closer. Political considerations are a huge plus. So we'll just see what we're able to achieve. We're not a great power, so we can't look at ourselves like that. Alright, September. So we have a while still. We are really getting a lot of outbreaks of disease, which is pretty much just terrible. Really doesn't help us at all. At any rate, though, we're just going to hold strong, keep improving these relations. And, right, so they are a great power. They're actually a very considerably powerful great power, as though great powers needed more power. We don't have the 2 diplomatic points necessary. We just got them. Keep improving these relations. We really need an alliance with the United Kingdom. Quite frankly, the United States is going to be too powerful too soon. And, yeah. It'll take us probably most of a year to fabricate our claim to get one of their states. And we're probably just going to go for Missouri first, although it will look pretty awful, honestly. Just aesthetically. We'll really start tariffing our people because we do want to do more colonization. And we probably have enough time to get functionalism. Now all this money is really just going to go into our naval bases. It may be a good idea not to not to start building our naval bases just yet. In the unfortunate event that they do manage to just defeat us in this war, or not defeat us, but if they manage to occupy a significant amount of our territory, they can cancel the construction of our new naval bases, and that would be very problematic. We also don't even have naval base level 2s in most of our countryside, which isn't great. But anyway, we're going to go in to acquire a state. We don't really have a casus belli on them right now. Hopefully we don't get too much infamy for what we're about to do. British still do not want an alliance with us. Yeah, so not really much we can do about that. Not yet, at any rate. We are very lucky that they went and took New England, though, because America would only be considerably more powerful if we, well, weren't that lucky. Alright, so we have 40 groups. They have 25. It's not unreasonable to suspect that they'll have 40 brigades by the time we're in a position to declare war. What we could do is try to do just an immediate blitz sort of attack right into their capital. That may be effective, especially if they're undermanned and underprepared. Let's go ahead and shuffle these around. So yeah, just one massive blitz, charge right into Washington, smash the American army to pieces. It's conceivable that that would work. It's also conceivable that we would just end up getting just horribly destroyed by doing that. So we're going to have to balance the good with the bad and figure out what the most appropriate course of action is going to be. So we're going to play it by ear. That's really all we can do. Oh, and let's take a look at the rest of the world while we're at it, just since this seems like a good moment. Looks like the North Germans have formed, the Italians, I don't believe they've taken any of their cores. It looks like the world actually became fairly stable, or at least it held stably onto where it was. 6 infamy, that's pretty good. And we're only going to take one state, and then we'll justify another war later on. The main reason for that being just that... Well, the main reason for that being to avoid infamy. That's really the only reason, but it's also the only reason we really need, since it is the most important, really, factor, just at all. And we'll keep upgrading our naval bases. Hopefully we'll have enough to really, really get into colonization when the opportunity arises. And we're probably going to have to hit both things at the same time, fight the war and also colonize. So that'll be just kind of annoying. It's weird how I always end up in Victoria 2 colonizing at the same time as I am dealing with basically a major war. Because we go through large phases where we're not in a major war, which are, you know, pretty awesome in a lot of respects. Oh, wow. Looks like the Greeks just managed to get their territory. That's pretty cool for them, and it's actually a decent looking territory. They didn't get, like, Eastern Macedonia. So that's cool. Alright, 52 days left. We're probably doing this a little bit earlier than we need to, but we'll start really funding our forces. I'm going to mobilize. This will probably tell the Americans what we're doing, and they might mobilize as well. If they do, that is not great for us, but it's also not the worst thing. Because, I mean, they'll probably be able to mobilize more troops, but I just like having more troops. So hopefully we won't be really just hurting ourselves by doing this. That'll take too long to research, so instead... we'll get business regulations. That way we still have a few months to just save up research points for the machine guns, which we're going to need to get as soon as we possibly can. Alright, and the war is being sped up even more. The United States of America is mobilizing. We're going to just shovel our forces all together and really just blitz their force. How many days do we have left? 10 days? That's a little more attrition than I would like to take for 10 days, and God only knows our armies aren't entirely ready. But neither are theirs. We'll just shovel everyone over together. and really just try to hit them as hard as we can. Alright, our goal is Missouri. Let's really quickly. Nope. Alright. Well, it would have been worth it. They have 90,000 troops and they've mobilized. This could be a problem. Alright, where is Missouri? Alright, 21 war score. That's not unreasonable. I feel like we can make that happen. This big group of infantry is going to come in and be very helpful, and we're going to try to encircle that army. If we can make it work, you know, more power to us. Oh, okay, we're probably not going to be able to encircle them before they just break down. Although that's not bad. Now I'll just shovel these forces around. Let's slow this down. Alright, victory right there. Keep encircling them. They're retreating. We'll charge right after them. Alright, that's actually going very well. They do have American forces back there attacking our countryside. Mexico declared war immediately. Awesome. So yeah, we'll eventually want to get state and government, or nationalism and fraternity. What is it? Nationalism and imperialism. We will get that when we get the opportunity. We've smashed that American army to pieces. And yeah, we could just siege out this area. We'll actually send one of our forces over to deal with that occupation force. And yeah, that went pretty well. Let's see. They can just keep going where they're going. Everyone else will just kind of use to occupy. And we'll try to keep our forces close enough together that we can support them. Mutual defense and all that. Alright, so this should work out decently well, I think. Get that siege of Washington done. It would maybe be a good idea for us to just absolutely smash the American armies. That would probably help ensure that the Mexicans win their war. Not that I mean, because we do, in the long term, want the Mexicans to be successful conquering the United States so that we can take that land for free. I mean, yeah, that's not like yeah, I mean, that's just straight up why we need to do that. So we're not really helping them to help them. And we're not going to attack this American army since it is in the woods, and we would probably have to cross a river, and neither of those things are very much the ideal. And it looks like we're getting their armies pretty decent. Oh, they have sent forces over to Washington. That's kind of interesting. Not really unexpected. United Kingdom's doing a lot of wars. And we're just going to rush in and smash this one army. And then from there, unify our forces and smash into the army in Washington. Atlantic City. Looks like you're going to be the site of the next battle. Alright, so this might actually be a much easier campaign than I had thought. Yeah, so that's just something else. We might just be a very effective American empire, which is cool. Not entirely what I was setting out to do in the beginning. I thought it would be more of a struggle, but it looks like if we just keep applying pressure, we shouldn't really have anything to fear. Because their armies are just very weak. I mean, admittedly, we're saying this pretty early on. The United States really does have the ability to snowball with time. And it is still an uphill fight, in a sense. I mean, at any point, if we're ever finding ourselves too weak, they definitely will have the ability to just smash us apart. Alright, so they're offering us peace right now. I'm not going to take it because we really do need to just smash their army up for the Mexicans to succeed in their war. And Mexican success is our success. If only because we're trying to use them. Alright, Scranton. We'll just shovel our forces over to those two locations, get this 41 stack over to smash that 130 stack. And we should be good to go. You know, in fact, what I could do is later on, we could declare war on them with the casus belli being to liberate a country, or liberate people, that's the one. We'll do a liberate people war against them later in the game if we have to, if the Mexicans don't take back all their cores. And just liberate all of the Mexican cores from the United States and then declare war on Mexico to take them back. That's an option, and probably a fairly good one. Looks like we're fighting an actually pretty even battle, which is a little problematic, but not so much. It looks like we're just going to win that, and we did. So now's the time to start leaving behind small groups of soldiers, just to ensure that they can't escape next time. And then it looks like the Battle of Trenton will be the last one in the war. And from that point, we'll just kind of trust that the Mexicans will have considerable enough just superiority in the fight. If they don't, then that's kind of on them. We have a different plan where we'll just liberate their cores ourselves. Alright, there goes that battle. Great victory. We'll start moving our forces away. And then we'll just worry about colonization. Alright, there we go. We managed to just destroy all those forces. Get ourselves our Missouri. Extend ourselves some slavery. Let's see if they actually freed their slaves yet. It looks like they haven't, so if we're quick enough, we can take back all of their slave states and just get all of their slaves. Alright, so the borders look pretty awful right now. We'll try to fix that in time. It probably won't ever get all that much better, though. Look at that, though. We now have enough Confederate soldiers, or enough Confederate people that we have an additional... wow, I can't think of it. National focus, there we go. So we'll focus in Missouri. I wonder if we need to encourage anything in particular. Oh yeah, we really need to encourage state administration. So we'll go ahead and get some bureaucrats in there. Alright, other than that, let's cut our army funding immediately and as much as we can. And there we go. Demobilize, do all that. We managed to maintain a budget surplus throughout the war, which is really just almost unexpected, or unexpectable, and a very good sign that we have some long-term staying power, or maybe just that our army isn't as big as it should be. It also looks like the Americans have some American reactionaries going on, which could potentially make them into a presidential dictatorship if they lose control, and that would be interesting in itself. Let's expand some naval bases. Alright, and we do have a naval base here, which is great news. We probably don't need to expand it anymore, but we could. And from here, we'll just expand outwards and try to get as much of Africa as we possibly can, although that'll probably be for next episode. We could conceivably press against the Mexicans. I'm not sure if that's really what we want to be doing right now. And we have a truce with them for a few months anyway. So we actually probably will justify on them and try to take Nouveau Leon. And, yeah, so we'll do that. Keep them having a causeway into the United States so they can just keep taking over more lands. It looks like we're not actually going to see a reactionary United States, as they'll probably just go defeat that army. Oh yeah, so now the US wants land from Mexico, so looks like our dreams of a powerful Mexican state are pretty much just getting dashed. We might want to take Sonora from them instead, just so they don't cause any more trouble. Alright, we'll go ahead and give it a try, see what ends up happening. Hopefully we don't take too much infamy. And, yeah, just move our forces onto the border. It seems like our war fighting ability is pretty much the most dominant, other than the British, in North America. We'll just hope that that holds up. Alright, we've got business banks, and now we'll just not research for the next few months. Get as many naval bases as we can, and as upgraded as we can. We might even go attack Colombia and get the Suez Canal Zone. Or, Suez Canal Zone, the Panama Canal Zone. Don't know what I'm saying. That would actually probably help us out quite a bit and ensure that we stay a great power in the long run. Keep increasing relations with the UK, since they're pretty important. And, yeah, so, poor Mexico, they're really not getting the good end of this. The Americans have 31 regiments, or divisions. The Mexicans have 26, and we're also really just going to come in and just absolutely destroy their warfighting capability if we do attack them right now, which is the goal, so that's going to happen. Now let's see, fish, just basic goods. We get some coal if we go after Nouveau Leon, or just basic goods if we go after Sonora. So we will go after Nouveau Leon right now, and that should be fairly straightforward. 5.9 infamy, not bad at all. That does just mean that we won't be able to declare war on America right away once our truce breaks, or we probably will depending on how long everything goes. And it doesn't look like we can upgrade any more of our naval bases anywhere. So that actually works out pretty decently. And yeah, so we're actually going to be timed where we're going to time it in such a way that we will almost certainly find ourselves fighting a war against one of our two neighbors at roughly the time that we're colonizing. So that'll be a little troublesome, or I guess a little irksome, but not troublesome. Alright, welcome to 1870 world. We'll go ahead and get those machine guns and get ourselves some colonies. Okay, and they made peace, so that's pretty cool. I was really worried that they would try to take even more lands, and that would have been problematic. Not really devastatingly so, but it definitely would have been less than ideal. And yeah, we probably have a little while before we need to worry about any naval bases. Everyone's going to be a little more liberal, which means we're probably getting nearer to the end of slavery as an effective institution in our country. 51 days left means increase that funding. Rally everybody to San Antonio, and sorry factories, but you're just not really our focus right now. Turn off the Charlottesville focus and mobilize our armies. Alright. The Mexicans will probably react as they've been reacting every time previously. We do want our people to be more in favor of protectionism, since that is essentially the only source of income we have. Laissez-faire, well, what am I looking for? Protectionism, free trade, protectionism. Alright, so all of our major political parties are protectionist, so we'll just go super protectionist. And they're coming right for us. I'm going to try to make this an hour-long episode, so we come to the point where I have to wonder, are we going to have a war that ends in 8 minutes, or 7 minutes now, or should we just call it a little bit early? And I think I'm leaning more towards the side of calling it a little bit early. Although, I don't know, it's really possible we can just roll on through. Nouveau Leon is 40 war score, so yeah, that'll actually take us a while. Oh well, that's what we gotta do. Alright though, so we're just going to end it right here, right now, and just kind of consider what our options are. I'm fairly sure okay, so I recorded this version first. The other version where we're just going to occupy the United States and keep them in an eternal sort of domination, or keep them under our eternal domination, that'll come next, so I'll probably just exit out of this one and record that one for an hour, and probably just post both videos roughly around the same time, or maybe one a day after the other. Ultimately though, right now, we are doing very well, far better than I had really anticipated, honestly, but I honestly didn't really have very much in the way of anticipation for how that would go, other than years ago, I played a game as the Confederate States in vanilla Victoria 2, and the United States just became incredibly powerful, and I was just doing my own thing. I was also very terrible at the game, so I just kind of sat and did my own thing. I think I attacked Spain and maybe even Latin America, really for no reason. I didn't think it out very well, or think it through very well. But the next thing I knew, the United States was just ramming through with massive armies, and my game ended because they just re-annexed me. And it was a terrible bummer. So part of this idea was, I wonder how feasible it is to be the CSA, really at all. So we'll find out what the most feasible way is, find out what the game actually kind of is more... Find out what sort of strategy is more likely to be successful and just carry it through. We could also do a peaceful version, which I'm honestly kind of on the fence about, but it does seem interesting. It seems like it'll be very difficult, and it would probably rely almost entirely on if we can ally the British or not. But it's still going to be interesting, so I might go through with that. Other than that, I've played as the CSA in, I want to say, the HPM, Historical Plausibility mod, I think is what it's called. And in that, you get an option to have the second Declaration of Independence, which takes away all of the United States' cores on you, and also has a whole bunch of other things to just add flavor, and it's very interesting. I feel like it's slightly unfair, though, especially if you're a player CSA. I feel as though, for the AI, you should probably want the United States to lose their cores just because that's more interesting. As a player, though, the United States having cores on you just keeps you active. You know, it keeps you from just becoming docile or just kind of fading away. And it makes the game challenging and gives you a late game boss. Although I kind of screwed that up by attacking them immediately out the gate. That being said, who's to say? They could really bounce back even still. They have 19.67 million people. We have 10. So, yeah, that's not really optimal for us. What am I trying to find right now? Migrations. I can never remember where all these maps are. Alright, so we're getting some immigrants. They're getting more. We're going to have to keep working on this, honestly. We still are at risk. I mean, and once we take these states, and we might even go after something like Kansas. Well, no, Kansas isn't really worthwhile. So we're going to have some weird borders. And we're going to go after Mexico a little bit, although that's probably not the best idea. I do just want those lands. I want a Pacific coast. So yeah, we'll try to take our two states back, Kentucky and West Virginia, longish term, and also Sonora, and right now Nuevo Leon. So we only have 3 states that we really need to take, or really want to take. After that, and probably before, actually, we're going to try to take as much as possible in Africa, looking at it population-wise. We do want Sokoto. That would probably be a very good place to get. And really just anything that we can in the sort of... I forget what this is actually called, if it's the Niger River Delta. But this place is very populated and I believe has good resources, though I should probably look into that a little bit more than just making that up. It looks like a lot of it is grain. So we might actually want to try to get ourselves over to here. But that's in the future. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully this is interesting. I'll also probably be taking screenshots, going through the recording and snapping out interesting screenshots and things. And I'll probably put it into something like an Imgur post. And probably just put it on the subreddit, and maybe on the forums too, if this turns out to be interesting, which I really hope it is. And if you guys have any ideas on what to do to just further have a successful Confederacy, that would be great to hear. One interesting thing is I'll probably do some reading on how to really make the economy in Victoria 2 work out in your favor. And then if I can do a decent enough reading and figure that I have a good enough grasp on it, then I'll probably do a peaceful CSA run where we don't actually take over anyone's land, either the United States' or Mexico's. We'll probably still colonize quite a bit because that is helpful, but I'll try to just maximize economically. So yeah, that'll be interesting then. I think I've convinced myself to make that. If you want to see that or don't want to see that, let me know. And thank you very much for watching. Again, yeah, thank you.